threatening people to uphold an ideology is not a defense. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Rutgers professor Brittany Cooper defending critical race theory and at the same time attacking the white man. Now, elephant in the room, no pun intended. Brittany Cooper is a black woman. However, if she were a white woman, or even worse, Satan incarnate, Beelzebub himself, a white man, if she were either of those two racial identities, and she spoke of the black man the same way she spoke about the white man, oh, she wouldn't be able to have a platform and be a professor and be on TV. Nope. She'd be in a penitentiary, in a who's goo, in a clink, whatever you want to call it right now, making big rocks and the little rocks. That's just the reality of it. But because she's black and a woman and the size of a Volkswagen Beetle, then it's okay. It's not really a problem. Now, before I go any further, let's roll this clip. I'll watch it with you so you can see what's going on. If you want to see the full thing without my commentary, I'll link to that in the box below. If you got about an hour to go ahead and just waste for some reason, I'll put that version in the box below as well. But let's watch this 5-minute or so condensed version to see what's going on here.
I think that white people are committed to being villains in the aggregate, right? The real sort of issue here, and I've heard people sort of say it, is one, I think that white people viscerally fear. It's not that white people don't know, right? I
just want to pause for a moment because I know where this is going already. And I hate this whole white man on the brain disease. Okay, you got black folks that are steady worried about the white man rather than themselves. It's like, lady, if you put all that white people research you do into yourself and tighten your own physical fitness up, you'd be a lot better off because that bug is chasing you and you don't want to get caught. But I digress.
Have done. They know. They fear that there is no other way to be human but the way in which they are human, which is to, so, like you talk to white people and whenever you really want to have a reckoning about it, they say stuff like, it's just human nature. If y'all had all of this power, you would have done the same thing, right? And it's like, no, that's what white humans did. White human beings thought there's a world here and we own it. Prior to them, black and brown people have been sailing across oceans, interacting with each other for centuries without total subjugation, domination, and colonialism. Right?
Okay, let's just pause right there because you're talking about sailing the ocean blue. I'm not really sure about that. I'm not sure how accurate that is. Having seafaring boats going all over the world. Like, who's a black Magellan? I don't know. But anyway, I'm not sure about that part. But as far as colonialism and things of that nature, there was always kingdoms and whatnot. And a king has subjects. Like, everybody talking about, oh, I'm a king, I'm a queen. We was kings, all of that. All right, if you were a king, who were your subjects? Huh? Mansa Musa, they talk about him all the time. The richest black man or rich person to ever live. He was very rich. Well, what was he rich in? How did he gain all his wealth? Okay. Slaves, black slaves. We just tend to ignore black people's part in this whole thing that black folks blame white folks for. Everybody was trying to get money. Everybody was trying to advance. That's just the nature of humans. Now, some are better at it than others. That's just the reality of the situation. We see now that the Europeans and the East Asians are better at it than everybody else. That's just the reality. You could love it, hate it, say it's racist or whatever. That's just the truth, period.
For centuries without total subjugation, domination, and colonialism. Right? We have seen what a show this iteration of treatment of other human beings means, and that my hope is that we would do it differently, in the moments when we have some power. We will not do it perfectly.
Oh. So basically, if you become, because that's what it really is, you want to become the white man. You want to trade places with the white man, right? I saw her before. I think it was her talking about the diets that white women use don't work on them. On black women, that's what I heard her say. Okay, so if she could become a white woman, then life would be easier. So that's ultimately what it is. You want to take their place. It's called envy. And you think if you were able to have this quote unquote power that you would do better. Oh, okay. So why didn't that happen in Africa, where relatively you had power over other Africans? Why was there always subjugation and slavery and everything else there in those empires and areas and whatnot? Come on, let's just stop playing games.
But I do think that all of us can sort of agree that a politics that says like there are superior and inferior human beings just isn't the way to go. And that's the thing that white people don't trust us to do, because they are so corrupt. You know, their thinking is so morally and spiritually bankrupt about power that they can't they fear viscerally, existentially letting go of power, because they cannot imagine that there's another way to be. It is either that you dominate or you are dominated. And isn't it sad?
I mean, pretty much that's the way the world is. I mean, that's because at the end of the day, you're talking about taking power. So you're going to dominate, but you're going to do it in an altruistic way. How does that make sense? How does dominance and altruism, how does that really merge? It doesn't at a certain point. I mean, every place in Africa, for the most part, has had some kind of dictator. And for real, most places on planet Earth, up until the USA was born, were under dictatorships. That's just the nature of human beings. Where we live right now in America is an experiment. And it's very young, but all over the world and empires and whatnot that had existed, there always been some kind of subjugation, some kind of dominance, because you got to be able to control things. And if you don't control things, that's when you have collapse. It's very simple.
That is spiritually who they are, and that they can't imagine a sort of more expansive notion of the world. The thing I want to say to you is we got to take these motherfuckers out. But I know, but like, we can't say that, right? We can't say.
But you said it though. Now you said it. You say you can't say it, but you did say it. Now this guy right here, that's Michael Harriot from The Root, if I'm not mistaken. They won't have any problems come to them as a result of that. There will not be any issue. Now, if you place, like, let's say for example, Trump Jr. right here, and then right there, let's say you place MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene. That's how you place them right there on a similar type podcast. And it's talking about the same issue, but they're talking about blacks rather than whites. Every single channel would have this running back to back to back to back. Matter of fact, it could be two regular normies, not even two celebrities, and it would still be on the news back to back to back to back. The same way the whole Kyle Rittenhouse thing is right now. Regular normie guy on the news just 24/7. Like nobody else got shot in America in that same period of time that he was involved when whatever he was involved with.
Say, like, I don't believe in a project of violence. I truly don't. Because I think in the end that our souls suffer from that. And I do think that some of this is a spiritual condition. So here is where I land most days about white people. And I actually have been helped in this by thinking about indigenous people, right? See, part of the challenge around whiteness is that it totally skews our view of everything, right?
I mean, where's this coming from? Is this just your particular point of view, how you feel about the white man? So you get up every day and before you eat breakfast, you got white man on the brain. I mean, how do you really live that way? Shouldn't there be other things in your life that take precedent over the white man? I don't really understand. It's weird. And isn't the Root.com owned by NBC Universal, which is owned by a white man? So you guys are on the white man's platform, but at the same time talking about how bad the white man is and all this and that. It doesn't make any sense, but I keep on.
I gave this like TED talk about this some years back, and one of the reasons I was trying to think about it is like,
yikes.
The world didn't start when white people arrived in America and tried to tell all the rest of us how things were going to go. There were people out here making worlds, Africans and indigenous people being brilliant, and, you know, libraries and invention.
A library where? In sub-Saharan Africa? Where? You talking about Egypt? That's not Africa, really. That's like the Mediterranean. I know it's on the continent of Africa. Don't get it twisted, but that's more like Carthage, Ottoman Empire. That's not where you from.
And
you from LA or Mississippi somewhere anyway, but that's a different story.
You know, vibrant notions of humanity and cross-cultural exchange long before white people showed up being raggedy and violent and terrible and trying to take everything from everybody. And that's really important, because if we believe that history starts for us when white people drag us to these shores, then we can never get outside of the notion that this is going to be our existential struggle. All things that begin end. White folks are not infinite and eternal, right? They ain't gonna go on for infinity and infinity. And that's super important to remember, that white colonialism and imperialism has a beginning. And in my way of thinking about the world, that means it has an end.
All right, so why don't you celebrate the process by go ahead and leaving these white colonialized spaces and go to some African nation where the white man isn't present. Matter of fact, try to go to China or something like that and see how that goes for you. Try to go to Japan, you know, konnichiwa, arigato, all that. Learn the language and see how that goes for you. You're going to have a hard time shopping in Japan, but, you know, see how it works.
And so part of what we are trying to do is to imagine what are the steps that we must take to get to the other side of this very inconvenient, you know, epochal interruption of like Black and indigenous world making. I mean, does that give people comfort on the day to day when you like just having to deal with white folks and the travesties that they create and the sense that they want to destroy the planet? Nah, there is a
I don't understand. Like, what are you talking about? Why? I think people get caught up in their own mind and they create this false world and then they become victimized in that false world. It's like that meme of the bicycle and it's sticking the bicycle and somebody puts it in there. It's like, white people, but really it's you. It's you creating this damaged space in your mind and it's you reacting to said damaged space.
A world beyond even our sojourn on the earth. And so whiteness is going to have an end date because it is not, despite what white people think of themselves, they do not defy the laws of eternity, right? Their projects are not so sophisticated that the natural laws of physics change for them. And when we sort of humble them humble our own understandings of whiteness, it seems like the biggest giant that we face. But in the end, right, it is what I like to say is, you know, Black folks were out here for centuries and centuries and millennia doing all kinds of wonderful things and probably some.
You're enslaved in your own mind. You're like a pet. You're like a pet dog in a cage in a white person's house. If a pet dog that was being abused, you sound like a pet dog that has been abused in the cage. But the problem is you're not a pet. I don't think you are. You're not in a cage and you're not being abused. You've created this idea in your mind and you're acting out as a result of it. If that makes any sense.
Up things too, but whiteness is largely an inconvenient interruption. And so we then get to ask ourselves, so why am I here in this moment of it? Like, damn, you know, why did I show up in this particular iteration? And it's like, well, I think we showed up in this iteration precisely so that we could help to figure out an end and a way to the other side of this, you know, gargantuan historical tragedy.
Making up stuff. Okay, that'd be enough. Again, if you want to see the full thing, it's like 40 minutes or so. It's like a real talk. If you want to see that full thing, I'll link to it in the box. Oh man, I don't know what to say about that. You know, toward the end, I felt like it was kind of like a word salad being constructed right there. You ever seen, you guys may be kind of young or my age, a little bit older, and Live in Color, Oswald Bates, the guy that was in the penitentiary talking, using all these words that didn't make any sense. They sounded really good to him, but in reality, they didn't make any sense. That's kind of what she reminds me of. Word salad, meaningless, and the threats against whites will be ignored because it's not really seen as a threat. This is the same reason why in the AP style of writing, they say capitalize the word Black when referring to Black people because of what they've gone through, all this and that and the third, but don't capitalize white. It's like, I don't really, what's the point? Let's capitalize both or none. Capitalize them because it's referring to a group of people, or you don't because it's just describing people and it's not necessarily a thing that has to be capitalized. I mean, the things that we do on a daily basis, not all of us, some of us, it kind of creates this false world in which people live in. And a lot of things, it's kind of like brainwashing going on. Like, you hear Bernie Sanders say millionaires and billionaires, they got to pay their fair share. When he says that over and over again, the regular normie who's not really aware of politics, they'll repeat that just in their regular everyday life. It's like they've been trained like a pet. And I feel like what I want to just get out to the general public is we are all human beings. We are intelligent and we can do things on our own and independently. We don't have to be taught by people like, what's her name? Big lady, Brittany Cooper. We don't have to be taught by these people or anyone else how to behave and how to think and what to be offended by or what not to be offended by. I say use your own brain, because this lady right here, I'm not quite sure if she's in control of her brain or if it's just some propaganda that she's being prompted to spew out to the general public. One more thing before I close. I think a lot of these people that are coming out and saying things like this have been brainwashed from a young age. They don't know any better. And then if you approach them and say, hey, what you're saying right there, that's not right, that's incorrect, they want to attack you because this is all they know. And how dare you try to interrupt their view of the world? It's a sad thing, but it is what it is. And I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? How do you feel about this professor, college professor, saying things like this? Is this kind of common in academia? If you guys are in college or you're in high school or in academia yourself, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. I don't have this white man on the brain disease. All right. I've been self-employed for about 15 years. I'm not worried about the white man and all this and that. And this whole idea of the white man being privileged, understand this. The top 1% of America are like rich and wealthy and powerful. Top 1%. The median income for all races, black, white, everybody, is like 32,000 in America, 32 or 35,000. Okay. So it's not like the white man's out here just like on this ivory tower looking upon all the colored peons on the ground. It's just not that way. Okay. You go outside right now, Brittany Cooper, you probably got a white neighbor, white friends, white colleagues at work doing the same thing you doing in the same rat race as you, in the same Weight Watchers class, trying to shed them pounds off just like you. You isolate yourself in your mind and in your physical space and then pretend to be oppressed and act as if you're oppressed. Meanwhile, you make a whole lot of money and then living off of saying that you're oppressed. How can that be so? How could you be so free to do whatever you want in this oppression system? It doesn't make any sense. Why? Because it's not true. It's not reality. Come back to reality and conquer that rather than trying to conquer this imaginary white man in your mind. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.